Welcome in, everyone. It is Betting Weekly Live, and it's your Friday fun with Steve Wyss and with Lewis Jones for this day's edition. How you doing, Lewis?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Steve. Love Fridays. The weekend is near. Lots of research to still do ahead of the weekend. Very busy yesterday, actually. I was at a wedding yesterday, so excuse if my voice sounds a little hoarse. It was quite a late one last night, and it was I was sort of flying solo as well because my wife was working and my kids were in nursery, so I was a free man at this wedding, and I got a little bit too excited. And my last memory of the evening was singing Natasha Bedingfield Unwritten at about 12 o'clock. So but I'm professional as ever, ready to go here.
Well, that sounds like a very good night.
It was. And yeah, congratulations to Matt and Misha, by the way. I'm not sure if they'll be watching, not really keen gamblers, but congratulations to them. They put on a real good show, but I'm ready to rock and roll today.
Is that your karaoke song now?
I know it's controversial, isn't it? That every single like big event I go to now, whether it's I was at the races earlier this year at Epsom, and the final song for that set was Natasha Bedingfield Unwritten as well. So is it the new sort of Frank Sinatra New York at weddings? Maybe, I'm not sure. It's the modern day Sinatra, I think, to how to close a show. Natasha Bedingfield Unwritten. Very strange, but everyone seems to know the words. Steve, do you know the words?
Not really, no.
I know every word. I don't know why, but I do.
Certain songs I just don't know words to. Certain songs I do, but we'll have to have a special edition for that another day. But back to the betting, and we enjoyed your debut here on Monday, I believe it was. Dom Solanke, how did he not? I thought he had two good chances to get the opener, and now he's injured for the weekend. But a bit more on that later.
Not a great start to his career, really. There is it for Solanke. He would have wanted to. I think when you move for a lot of money, and you're sort of the big new signing, you want to get off to a good start, don't you? So, but the missed chances and now the injury, not ideal for him.
We're going to come to the big championship match today between Leeds and Sheffield Wednesday. We're going to have La Liga, French League as well. But we've got to start with the Bundesliga. And the first match of the season gets underway this evening. It's the defending champions Bayer Leverkusen against Borussia Mönchengladbach. More on this first match a bit later. But the Bundesliga title race is Bayern Munich a -200 to win the league with Bet Rivers. Bayer Leverkusen +250 to defend their crown. Borussia Dortmund 10-1. Leipzig 12-1, and it's 40-1 bar. There's a general, I don't know, not consensus, but the feeling and the opinion that I'm getting around is that Bayern Munich should regain their crown this season. I don't know if you kind of hold the same view. I'm interested in your opinion on Vincent Kompany. You're well used to seeing him manage. How do you think he gets on over there? He was like, what, 15th choice for the job? If that.
I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. It's a strange one because it's not often you see a team that pick up sort of 24 points in a Premier League season. Their manager then gets such a promotion and becomes the next Bayern Munich manager. Maybe if Southampton go down this year, maybe Russell Martin will take the Real Madrid job or something next summer at Southampton. I don't know. It's a strange way he's got the job. And I think if he wasn't called Vincent Kompany, he'd have certainly been sacked last season, I think, as Burnley manager, let alone get a job of this sort of nature. And yeah, I kind of want to watch Bayern actually for the first few weeks just to make an assumption to see how he's going to go about it. I think if he adopts the same sort of strategy and philosophies he did at Burnley, then his coaching style probably will suit better players who can play out from the back a bit more confidently and probably take less like high quality chances. They are going to fall to better players. So I do think that's going to be interesting to see how he gets on there. But as you say, he wasn't exactly first choice for the job, was he? I think Xabi Alonso, is it? Nagelsmann
several turned down by
and Rangnick, Flick, Hansi Flick, Unai Emery, I think was mentioned, Erik ten Hag. But the one that's interesting for me is Oliver Glasner. Actually, he was I think he was officially approached by Bayern Munich as Palace manager, and I just think he's a really interesting one. If Bayern start badly, and Palace continue to sort of move forward under his management, despite losing some really key players this season, I think the Glasner to Bayern Munich could be one that to keep an eye on throughout the season, really, because I think they've got a good business relationship between us, having sort of negotiated the Michael Olise deal in the summer as well. So yeah, has Kompany got I think he's got the aura to take this job. It's just whether his he can deliver on the big stage. I mean, he's got such an elite mentality, isn't he? He's a bit of a strong-willed winner from his time at Manchester City, and maybe that'll help her get sort of the big players and the big egos on board. But yeah, it's a strange appointment, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes, actually.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't first choice. Everyone seemed to be turning them down. I was waiting for the phone call myself. You know, they're getting that far down the short list. But minus 200 for me, there's no way I'd be betting on Bayern Munich. For what, your money's tied up for 10 months of the year. It just feels too short. I'm not saying they're not going to win the league. I think Company either wins the league with flying colours or is sacked by February. It's one or the other, really, isn't it? I'm just not sure about it. Bayer Leverkusen, of course, were unbeaten last year. You know, it's going to be really hard for them to repeat that, but they're very well coached by Xabi Alonso. If I had to have a free $10 bet, I probably would have it on Leverkusen to actually regain the crown. Yeah,
I would totally agree. I think at those prices, I do think you have to just play. It's this try not to overcomplicate things sometimes in football betting, isn't it? I mean, Bayern finished 18 points behind Leverkusen last season, so you're sort of banking on that Company can add 18 points maybe to that haul to try and overhaul Leverkusen as the favourites. It just doesn't sound right, does it? Those prices, considering Leverkusen was so strong across all competitions, really. I don't think the Champions League is going to be an issue for them this year. I do think they'll be able to manage it like they did with the Europa League last season. Yeah, I can't see them going unbeaten again. Obviously, I mean they're on a 41 unbeaten domestic run at the moment, which is absolutely insane. So that will come to an end at some point. But yeah, I think at the prices, I'll be with you, Steve. If I was going to have a bet on that market, I think I would just side with Leverkusen.
Part of me is desperate to take on Harry Kane in the top scorer market. He's minus 225 for top scorer. I've seen him as short as minus 300 to score 30 or more goals with some UK-based books, which I wouldn't be interested in. I one injury and you're in trouble, aren't you? I just don't know who to take him on with, though, Lewis. I mean, you got Guirassy as now at Dortmund, Openda, they're 6-1 shots. Victor Boniface at plus 700 maybe would be the direction I go in. But I mean, Kane should be the top scorer, shouldn't he? But that injury he had in the summer just kind of puts me off.
That makes it's sort of. I was thinking about this earlier about Harry Kane. Was it a mixture of maybe an injury and also the fact maybe he is on the wane slightly in just terms of physicality and be able to get about the pitch? And of course, like as a centre forward playing for Bayern Munich, you just need to be that sort of fox in the box and finish the chances. But again, I'll probably have to just wait and see how he starts the season before I just sort of decide whether you want to put your faith in him to be the top goal scorer and just to make sure he's got that sharpness back, because he was really, really disappointed in the Euros. I know he was carrying that injury, but it wasn't the same Harry Kane that I've sort of watched for years and years at Tottenham and dropping deep and creating things and getting involved all across the pitch. I do think he's becoming now very much that sort of just focal point and goal scorer, which is sort of what Cristiano Ronaldo turned into eventually. Maybe he'll go down the same sort of route and he's going to score goals. But again, I would be a bit sort of wary about investing early doors in Kane. I think I'd like to see how fit he is and how sharp he is after the summer.
Yeah. Relegation from Bundesliga. You've got a big play here for a nibble that you quite like.
Yeah, I've nibbled Stuttgart actually. It's quite there's 6,000 to plus 6,000 on the sportsbook. So I'm still getting used to my American odds. So 66-1 really in our terms. But yeah, they finished second last season, which people are going to be throwing things at their listening device, I think, when you say, how can a team go from finishing second to be a candidate for relegation? But I don't think it's as ridiculous or outlandish as it maybe sounds on the face of it. I do think the coach, Sebastian Hoeneß, worked like miracles last season, didn't he?
He's a very, very good coach. I rate him. I'm amazed no one snapped him up, actually.
That might be a problem for Stuttgart throughout the season as well. If a big job becomes available and they have a good start again, then he's surely going to be in the conversation for some of these jobs. But I just think it's that the extra workload that Stuttgart are going to have to undertake this season with the Champions League, where they're going to play at least sort of 8 games to get to the next stage potentially. So that's going to stretch a squad which already looks quite thin and not as strong as last season. I mean, they've lost some big players, haven't they? I mean, Guirassy's gone, Anton's gone, Ito has gone as well, and they've brought in Dennis Undav as well. And I still think, I know he got in the Germany squad, wasn't he, for the Euros? But I still think that sort of the jury's out on him a little bit from his time at Brighton. I didn't see much from him in the Premier League to suggest he could score goals consistently. Anyway, I just think it's just the club. clubs that sort of get back into Europe after having not been there for a while. They haven't been in Europe for the Champions League for 14 years, Stuttgart. And I do think it is a challenge for clubs to try and negotiate their way through the season, with sports science and keeping their players fit and healthy throughout this extra workload. And if there is a few injuries in that Stuttgart squad throughout the season, it could affect them. So I'm not expecting the big price to land to them to be relegated, but I do think when the season really gets going and they're trying to manage the workload with what looks on paper to me like a inferior squad this season, I do think that is a big price and may shorten over the course of the season. Do you think that
relegation?
Yeah, do you think it's an angle or not? Can you see that?
I think I see what you got some points. I think it's overpriced. That you might well get a look at what happened to Union Berlin last year. They were in the bottom in the bottom three, I think, at Christmas. So it's one of those you could back to lay it at some point or whatever. So that's an interesting angle, I must say. It's a food for thought, that one.
If you think about Brighton as well, last season, they really struggled to cope with the extra demands of even being in the Europa League. And I think that was a problem behind the scenes at Brighton rather than, I just don't think they were prepared for how much it changes the sort of the day-to-day running of your organisation in terms of match days and things. I do think it's a very different way of working throughout the weeks of these football clubs. So I would, I'm always looking to try and exploit sort of angles like that where you think a team might regress because of the extra workload. And I do think, Stuttgart do sort of fall into that category, I think.
They open their account by Leverkusen tonight, the defending champions, away to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Very stable market here. Not much changes with the money line or the over-under. Got to say, I think this is a no-bet match. Completely watch it. I actually lost twice on this fixture last season. I took the over 3.5 on both. One of them ended 0-0. Gladbach do sometimes play a bit more defensive against these bigger teams. So I would be personally a little bit wary of the opening one tonight. Just have a good watch of it. We're going to move to the Championship tonight. My own team are in action. Leeds United are on the field. A Yorkshire derby, Sheffield Wednesday versus Leeds. And as we see there, I was going to get the latest odds on my own browser here. But Sheffield Wednesday, there's been some money for Wednesday. They were plus 310 earlier, they're now plus 295. Leeds and now minus 118. The over-under line is pretty stable. Under 2.5 at minus 105 would be a direction I would perhaps look in for this game, Lewis. First goal scorer favourite is Wilfred Gnonto. Another player wants away from Leeds, who've lost quite a lot of attacking players recently. What's your take on this match at Hillsborough, Lewis? Because this is a league you're quite a specialist in.
Yeah, it's just a cracking Friday night encounter, this, isn't it? Yorkshire derby. Going to be a real hotbed of atmosphere, I think. Leeds will feel their end out. Wednesday, I'll be wanting to sort of get the scalp of beating Leeds in a big game in front of the cameras, etc. So yeah, it's a very strange few weeks for Leeds, isn't it? It seems like a few weeks can be a very long time in football, I think, and everything can sort of change very, very quickly. And I think Leeds are just sort of finding that out at the moment, aren't they? It just seemed. Not sure if you felt the same, Steve, from a sort of supporter perspective, but everything seemed sort of very calm and settled going into the season. Yeah. And it actually triggered my interest to back Leeds to win the title. So
I was actually confident, and we're naturally pessimistic Leeds fans. Even I was looking logically. I'm like, we have to be in the top two, and then suddenly, in the space of a week or two, the world's caved in. Everything is just going wrong. I don't think any Leeds fan really believes we're going to win tonight. I didn't believe we were going to win at West Brom when we didn't. And I wouldn't be confident heading into this fixture.
Yeah, one of my biggest anti-post bets actually on Leeds. This is a very short price, but I thought it was the wrong price. Leeds to finish in the top 6 at minus 275, so 4-11 in fractional odds. I just thought they're never going to regress that much over the season, if that makes sense with what's happened. But now I'm getting a little bit nervous and sweaty about that, considering what's happened and the fact that now Ruta has gone as well, and Somerville. I think they're two best attacking players, aren't they? And they just don't like the sort of the striking options that are disposable now. Doesn't really excite me. So it's Matteo Joseph, isn't it? Patrick Bamford still there. Gnonto, I do think blows hot and cold. Dan James, hot and cold. Joel Pirro, is it? And Brendan Aronson's back, isn't he?
They're very Katy Perry, aren't they? Hot and cold, you know.
Hot and cold, yeah.
Like you say, we do have a few players like that. Bamford is more Arctic. Arctic Circle rather than roasting red hot oven these days, sadly.
Absolutely. It's going to take a lot because I think two of them are going to have to step up and be quite consistent over the season, just of those players that I've sort of reeled off there. And it's very hard to see one or two of those sort of chipping in with maybe. You need someone to score 15, 20 goals, don't you, really, if you're going to win the title? So, yeah, they need to do some business over the next week, don't they? Showed the lack of strength in depth as well in that Middlesbrough game, didn't they? In the Cup a couple of weeks ago, they lost 3-0 playing a sort of it was a makeshift team, wasn't it? And I just that sort of made me send alarm bells a little bit for me in terms of Leeds. And then just looking at the underlying data of the 0-0 with West Brom, I know going to West Brom and drawing 0-0 isn't probably the worst result in the world, but I mean, I think they looked like they were quite happy to take a point there. They only had 8 shots, 1 on target. Expected goals tally was only 0.7. And this is the stat that really worried me. They only had 6 touches in the opposition box, which is the fewest they've had in a game under Daniel Farke. They usually average like going towards 30 touches in the opposition box per game. So it sort of showcased potentially how maybe they were there for the draw and they were happy with the point, but maybe sort of confidence is a little affecting the squad. And I just think tonight, I think they're easily opposable at the prices you read out there. You can totally see why punters are coming for Sheffield Wednesday at home. As I say, it's going to be a great atmosphere. And I'd happily back Wednesday on the double chance, actually, at a -110. Very reliable, actually, at home under their new manager, Danny Roll. I mean, they've only lost one of their last 10 home games since he's taken over. So if you're backing him on the double chance, it would have landed in 9 of the last 10 home games, that bet. So that sort of would fill me with confidence. And the way they played against Plymouth on the opening day at Hillsborough absolutely tonked them 4-0. Really impressive, great underlying data. They look like a real, when you sort of digging through the data of all the results and the underlying metrics, the performances, they were one of the standout teams in week 1. And then next week they go and get thumped 4-0 at Sunderland. So it just it's a good example of how strange the Championship can be sometimes. But I do think they're quite a reliable team at home. So I can definitely see why the money has come for sort of a pro Wednesdays angle. I think I'll be probably getting involved with them tonight if I'm sitting down to watch it.
Draw double chance then, or on the +1/2 Asian handicap for Sheffield Wednesday is what you would advise here, Lewis. I think under 2.5 here. Both teams score no. It could be 0-0. I think if someone wins the game, it's 1-0. It's going to be stop-start. There's going to be fouls. There could even be a red card in a match like this. It's a Yorkshire derby. It's feisty. The crowd's going to get involved. Honestly, I think a very good chance of actually a draw in this game. And I actually think both teams might take the draw if you offered them right now.
I think if Leeds, they just want to get through this period and strengthen their squad. They just want to get through it. If it's 15 minutes to go and the score's 0-0, 1-1, are they really going to push for the winner? Probably just want a bit of silence everything down a bit. Another loss would really make some noise around Ellen Road, wouldn't it? That's the last thing they need this evening. So maybe this is a must not lose, if that makes sense. But just something, a little quirky stat I picked up actually on this game. Sheffield Wednesday last season were the only team in the top 4 divisions not to be awarded a penalty. So it's now 15 months since they were awarded a spot kick, which is absolutely insane. Or if you wanted to go even further and make it more dramatic, that's 41 million seconds since they've been awarded a penalty, which is bizarre. And it's probably not a very profitable theory, this, but I do get sucked in a lot by sort of trend enders. So like spotting patterns that are going to come to an end eventually. And this one just has to at some point. So I was just looking on the Bet River site, and for a penalty to be awarded in the match tonight, so you've got Leeds and Sheffield Wednesday sort of running for you there. It's +225, which I didn't think was one too bad. So I do think there is going to be a penalty awarded to Sheffield Wednesday, and if I'm watching the game tonight, that's probably a bet I'm going to have because this trend will end at some point, because that is an insane 15 months without a penalty. That's going to reverse itself. That's eventually
ridiculously long. That is a long time. Crazy, actually. So yeah, that's the Championship match. Whilst you're here, Lewis, I'm going to pick your brains about the Premier League card. Let's give us 2 of your best bets for the Premier League upcoming this weekend. I'm actually just going to put something in chat here. You can watch the Premier League preview show with Nigel Seeley, Jack Wright, Dan Roebuck. It was released yesterday. Some loads of interesting takes and picks on all the games. But what do you reckon for the Prem this weekend?
Yeah, my strongest fancy actually is Everton at Tottenham. I can't be having Tottenham
on the money line.
On the money line, yeah, and on the double chance. Really? I think it's just the price. It's a price play, really. I'm quite hot on Tottenham this season, but everything's got its price, I think, and I just think there might have been a little bit of an overreaction to Everton's performance last weekend against a I think Brighton are going to be able to do that to a few teams this season. I think they might have caught Everton a bit cold as well. But Tottenham are minus 225, and I just think that's very, very short. I wouldn't. If you told me would you rather back or lay that, I'd be laying that all day. And I think people have maybe forgotten how dangerous Everton can be, especially when they're lining up against Spurs. I just remember the 2 games last season. I just think stylistically they're very well set up to sort of cause them a lot of trouble. So in the 2 games last season, Everton created 4.4 worth of expected goals across the 2 fixtures and posted 13 shots on target against Spurs across the 2 games. It drew 2-2 at Goodison, and then it was 2-1 to Spurs back in London. But it was Everton were actually very unfortunate not actually to win both of those matches based on the sort of underlying data and the expected numbers. So, and I don't think much has changed over the summer in terms of stylistically. You know what you're going to get from Sean Dyche's side. I think they're going to sit and wait to hit on the counter attack, and they are a very good direct counter attacking team. Spurs don't like playing against that sort of opposition. And then you've got the set piece angle as well on your side, which I think has not been factored into the market at all, because Spurs are absolutely useless at defending set pieces. Between February and May this year, they conceded 11 goals from set pieces, and only Sheffield United conceded more in that time last season. So, and then who's rocking up at the door? It's the team that created the most expected goals from set pieces last season, in Everton, and they scored the second most goals via that method as well. So I just think the combination, I just think stylistically the matchup really does suit Everton. So yeah, I'm looking to back them on the double chance, and I wouldn't even put people off having a swing at the sort of the plus 700 for the away.
You don't think though here that you're kind of banking on Everton having a big reaction, because I think they were nearly the worst team in week 1, right? And they've just lost at home 3-0 to Brighton. Brighton, who did play well, it must be said, but are you kind of banking on the Dyche? Is how you pronounce him? There was a video out this week. Did you see that video about pronunciations?
Yes, and he was the last one on there, wasn't he? Yeah,
he was the last one on. But yeah, I mean, you kind of banking on that reaction from Dyche. You would have had them double time.
Yeah, I think you can normally trust a Dyche team to react, but when I'm trying to find angles and trying to assess how a game is going to go, I think I've got a good sort of read on how both these teams play in terms of their styles. They're not going to change. Tottenham are going to play one way. They're going to press high. They're going to push their fullbacks in. They're going to leave themselves exposed at the back. And Everton are going to play for set pieces. They'll get the ball forward quickly, and they'll just be a really difficult team for Tottenham to break down when they're in their block. So I just like the matchup stylistically at the prices, and obviously Spurs are the most likely winners of the football match. But we're here to sort of let punters know about where the value could lie, and I do think the value is with Everton in this fixture.
Any value elsewhere in the Prem that stands out?
Second, I've got another one as well. Just both teams to score at plus 125 in Man City versus Ipswich. And Ipswich are a team I'm going to be quite positive on this season, I think, just because of their style of play. I do think they're not going to change the way they go about their business under Kieran McKenna, who I think pound for pound could be the best coach in the league, actually, and he's going to be set for a top job eventually. I just love the way he goes about it. He's got a great analytical mind, can read a game really well on the touchline, and he improves players as well. And I think players like playing for him. So I really rate the manager, Kieran McKenna. And actually, they showed in the first half against Liverpool last week that they're going to go for it against whoever they're going to play against. Even if they go to Man City, I think they'll be happy to play man for man still, which is going to be very, very risky, and it could get quite messy from up the other end. But I do think they can add to the scoreline. They've scored in 18 of their last 21 matches as well, and I do think Man City's defence has become a little bit more vulnerable over the past 2 seasons, especially at home. And if you look at the teams that scored against them in the home matches last year, included teams like Luton scored, Wolves scored, Burnley scored, Fulham managed to score. So we only really need Ipswich to get on the score sheet here, and I think they will play aggressively and play with an attack-minded style. So I odds against for both teams to score there. I do think that's a little bit too big. So yeah, the two sort of best bets I would advise punters to have a look at this weekend. Definitely Everton, any Everton-based angles, and then the both teams to score between City and Ipswich. Yeah, it's weird to say Ipswich is a Premier League team still, isn't it?
I know it is. It's been some rise for them, must be said.
Amazing. Yeah.
Crazy rise. Let's see how they get on this season overall. There's a couple of matches tonight in La Liga. There's one match in particular I want to talk about. It's Sevilla against Villarreal. Sevilla are the current favourites here. They've been drifting, though, during the day, now plus 143, with Bet Rivers. There has been some money for the tie actually in this game. There's also been some money for over 2.5 goals, which doesn't surprise me. It's now -139 here. I think there's going to be goals in this game. Villarreal are well known for producing some crazy end-to-end sort of matches under their current manager, Marcelino. Very high average number of goals there. I'm going to give a same game parlay out here because I think both teams score yes and over 2.5 goals is very, very likely. And that's now -121 with Bet Rivers. Rather than take over 3.5, a bigger price, rather than take the skinnier odds over 2.5, to combine that together, over 2.5 goals and both teams score yes, and it comes to -121. I can tell you now, there's been a 4-figure wager on over 2.5 goals with Bet Rivers today, and the over 2.5 and both teams score are the 2 of the top 3 wagered bets on this game with Bet Rivers. There's another La Liga game on later, Celta Vigo against Valencia, and there's been a 4-figure bet on under 8.5 Celta Vigo corners there at -667. Should cash, but let's hope for that particular bettor that doesn't have a glutton of corners. We're running out of time, so I'm just going to give some notable winners yesterday at Bet Rivers. The big one, the $58,000 bet on Alexandra Sasnovich on the money line in the tennis. That was a winner for one particular bettor yesterday. A huge winner, 58 grand on that. And it was a good day for the bettors, actually. A $38,000 winner on Beatrice Maya Haddad on the money line. That was at 1.5. $23,000 winner on the Athletics money line versus the Rays as well. So a good day for the bettors, actually. And some notable wagers that are coming up today. And this one actually stood out to me in the golf, Lewis. $3,000 on Nelly Korda to win the Women's Open Championship at 16-1. So I think she's leading. I think she's actually leading or was when I looked earlier. So that would be a very nice payout on Nelly Korda.
Wow, someone knew something there, didn't they? Wow.
Yeah, she's the number 1 women golfer in the world, and the biggest. Here's another one actually. Shubhang Mankar Sharma, better round 2 score than Ross Fisher. There was nearly $4,000 placed on that as well. But I'm sure there'll be some even bigger bets heading into the weekend. A lot of the big bets on the soccer, of course, come in the last hour when the team news comes in, which is really, really, really important. So just to recap, your best bet tonight, English Championship.
We're going to go double chance on Sheffield Wednesday. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, double chance. And then Premier League, Everton in some sort of angle, whether money line or handicap, if you like.
Double chance of money line. I would sort of split stakes separately, 75%, 25 on 75% on the double chance, and then maybe 25% on just the outright win. So I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I didn't back it at 7. So, and also both teams to score at Man City versus Ipswich. I think that's just too big of a price considering the way that Ipswich are going to sort of approach games like that this season.
I quite like that under 2.5 goals. Sheffield Wednesday Leeds at -105. And my best bet would be that same game parlay tonight. Sevilla Villarreal. Both teams score yes and over 2.5 goals at -121. Thanks very much for anyone who joined live. If you didn't manage to get your comment through, then we apologise. I know there was some issues with the software we've been using today, StreamYard. So if you didn't get your comment posted up or were having some issues, then we do apologise if you're watching live or on demand. But we'll be back next week for a full set of live shows again at 11 a.m. Eastern time every single day. And we appreciate you. Great debut week for you, Lewis. Really good to have you on board. And
thanks, mate. Here's to some winners, some weekend winners, please.
Let's get some winners. Yeah, cash some winners this weekend, everyone. Stay safe and remember to gamble responsibly. But take care and have a fantastic weekend. Goodbye.